Congressional lawmakers are visiting the site of the Trump rally shooting. Let's listen in. A live event right now coming right to us.
I think it sent the right message to the American people that we weren't going to let politics get in the middle of this, that we were going to work together to get this done in a very quick and expeditious way, because it's so important, as the Congressman said before, to make sure everybody understands, whether they're candidates or voters alike, that the democratic process will not be undermined by violence. We're going to make sure we protect all candidates and voters, because we had someone who came to the rally who died that day, too. So we need to make sure that they're protected as well. So I thank my colleagues here for the outstanding job we've been doing so far to get this thing started quickly, and the bipartisan approach we've taken so far. Thank you.
Madeline Dean from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Madeline Dean. I represent suburban Philadelphia, Montgomery and Berks County, the 4th Congressional District. It's an honor to be serving with this task force. We are charged with a very clear mission: to get to the truth, to get to the facts, to find the gaps and report that out. And we have a very short time frame to do it. You see here a number of people who are just serious about this in a nonpartisan way. So I'm honored to be a part of it. I want to thank Chairman Kelly for welcoming us here and making sure we got to see what we can see here, because as you can see, what's impressive to me is the proximity of everything here, particularly the position of the shooter and the position of the president. So glad to be here. I thank the ranking member Crow. I got phone calls from both of you, and they both had the exact same idea of what we were to do: to get to the truth, to say there is no place for political violence, not just for candidates, but for those who want to be civically engaged, for those who came here excited to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They need to be free from violence. Happy to be here with you.
Jared Moskowitz from Florida.
Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing us here today as Democrats and Republicans, as members of the task force, and as Americans. Being here and seeing the proximity of the buildings, it reminds me, quite frankly, how outrageous it was that the former director of Secret Service did not come here to get a sense of what this looked like. And so we are working in a bipartisan nature. As a former director of emergency management for the state of Florida, I look forward to getting the facts of what failed that day. We were inches away from an American catastrophe. And then figuring out what steps we can take to make sure something like this never happens again. So thank you.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, so all the members have had a chance to speak, and I think the most important thing is to recognize is we are U.S. representatives, not Democrats, not Republicans, but both, searching for the answers and reassuring the American people that we can work together and we can get the right answers so this doesn't happen again. I think for Jason and I, it was an easy thing to get on board with, because we're more team members than quarterbacking things. But I got to tell you, we're glad to be here. And I would like all our colleagues that are with us, it's fantastic to have you all here. The idea that they can come to this exact site to see what happened is incredibly important. I'm just going to open up for a few questions. We are on a pretty busy schedule because we have a lot of other stuff that we're going to be talking to. Local law enforcement is waiting to talk to us. So as quickly as we can, we'll take some questions.
Thomas Brooks had a clear line of sight when you guys were all up on that AGR roof. Just how stunned were you that there were, I'm told, 0 obstacles to the stage? Can someone speak to that?
Well, only because I was here much earlier and I saw all this go on. But I think when you talk to the members of this committee who actually have done that in military service, they look at it and they look at the measuring of distances and they said, how could this not have been prevented? And the burning question is always going to be with me. There was knowledge ahead of time that there was a person of suspicion on that roof and armed. The key was get the former president of the United States off the podium. Then there's nothing that has to take place. Mr. Comprador will be alive today, the 2 men that were wounded, the president, and also, not only did we lose Mr. Comprador that day, the Brooks family lost their son.
Before Congress, I was an Army Ranger. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And one of the fundamental principles you operate is you always secure the high ground, or you have eyes on the high ground. So I definitely took note today that there were a lot of lines of sight that appear to have been unsecured that day, that didn't have eyes on, or that weren't secured, and certainly at this point a lot more questions than answers.
Can you share
which federal agencies you all have communicated with thus far?
All right, probably some of the most important work on behalf of Congress is what we're seeing right now in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is where, as you remember, former President Donald Trump was shot and nearly killed back on July 13th. These are members of the House's task force on the attempted assassination of Trump. They toured the site of the shooting there in Butler, Pennsylvania. And now they're holding a press conference answering questions as reporters have been sort of following them as they work their way around the site of where that shooting was. The task force is actually investigating the security lapses that we all know a lot about now that led up to that assassination attempt. And apparently we're supposed to have some type of final report from this task force sometime in December. As you'll remember, 5 Secret Service agents have been put on leave since that incident went down back in July.